Welcome to this walkthrough of the Agent Identity Service, powered by AGNTCY, where you can create and manage secure identities for your AI agents and MCP servers, all in one place. Before we can create agentic services, we need to connect to a third-party identity provider. Clicking Settings in the menu on the left-hand side brings us to the Settings page, where we can see the option to connect to a third-party IDP, including Duo, Okta, or an AGNTCY, and clicking the link to the documentation provides step-by-step instructions on the steps needed. In the Agentic Identity Service UI, we select the OASF service type and provide it with the name and a description of the financial assistant agent. Then click Next and then Save. This creates an identity for the OASF Agentic Service, as highlighted here, powered by the IDP that we connected previously and an API key that will be used later. To create the badge for an OASF service, we need to upload the OASF spec file, which then creates the badge with the contents of the OASF file. We can see the different formats of the badge, including the credentials, JOSE, and claims via the UI. Navigating back to the Agentic Services section, we can see the OASF service that we just created. This time we click Add Agentic Service in the top right of the screen and select the A2A service type. We provide a name and description for the currency exchange agent, and then click Next and then Save. Like before, we can see the identity that has been created for the A2A Agentic Service along with an API key, and this time to create the badge we are prompted to provide a well-known URL for the A2A agent. Since we will be running the A2A agent locally, we cannot use the localhost URL as it won't be reachable from the Agent Identity Service. Instead, we can use the Agent Identity Service CLI to connect to the running A2A agent well-known URL and issue the badge, and then publish this to the Agent Identity Service via the Agentic Service API key that was created when we registered the A2A agent. Again, we click Add Agentic Service in the top right of the screen and select the MCP service type. We provide a name and description for the currency exchange MCP server, and then click Next and then Save. Like before, we can see the identity that has been created for the MCP server Agentic Service along with an API key, and this time to create the badge we are prompted to provide a URL for the MCP server. Since we will also be running the MCP server locally, we cannot use the localhost URL as it won't be reachable from the Agent Identity Service, and so we can use the Agent Identity Service CLI again to connect to the running MCP server URL to issue the badge, and publish the badge to the Agent Identity Service via the MCP server API key that was created when we registered the MCP server. Let's start the MCP server in the top pane on the right-hand side of the terminal, and we see that it is running on port 9090. Using the CLI, we can issue a badge for this service by providing the MCP server URL and then copying in the API key from the Agent Identity Service UI. This will create the badge for the MCP server by connecting to the MCP server URL and then issue and publish the badge based on the available MCP tools to the Agent Identity Service. We can see the badge appear if we reopen the Currency Exchange MCP Server Service page. As before, we see the different formats of the badge, including the credentials, JOSE, and claims via the UI. Each of the different agentic services have different claims in the badges. For example, in this MCP server badge, we can see the MCP server tools that are available and the parameters that can be used with each tool. This is important, as later on these tools will be used as part of policies to allow task-based access control for the agentic services. First, we give the policy a name and assign the policy to the OASF Financial Assistant Agentic Service, and then add a description. Next, we add a rule to the policy. We give a name and description, and from the Tasks drop-down menu, we select the MCP server tools that the agent should have access to. We will update our demo scenario, and now make it so that the OASF agent is only allowed access to the Get Currency Exchange Rate tool, and not the Trade Currency Exchange tool. Later, we will give the A2A agent access to the Trade Currency Exchange and not the Get Exchange Currency Rate tool in order to see the difference in behavior. After reviewing the policy, we can click Save, and the policy is created. Thank you for taking the time to watch this demo video. We hope you found it useful and informative, and that it has given you a good understanding of how to use the Agent Identity Service to create and manage secure identities for your AI agents and MCP servers, how to integrate existing applications with the Agent Identity Service, and how to enable human-in-the-loop notifications and approvals for task-based access control. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to reach out to us via the Agent Identity Service documentation and support channels. Thank you again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.